You're listening to Outside the Locker Room with Mackenzie Pflum, a Hustled exclusive podcast.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Today on Outside the Locker Room, I have the pleasure to welcome former professional baseball player. He coached within the San Francisco Giants organization in the independent baseball leagues. Now down in Savannah, Georgia, he plays for a little team some people may have heard of, the Savannah Bananas. Ray Ortega, welcome. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
How are you? Is now technically the off season for you guys? And how does that look when you're not in Savannah ball season?
Yeah, off season is right now until about mid-January, and then the next world tour begins. So off season is just I'm home in Miami right now, enjoying the family time. It's been a busy year, so just trying to cool down and get ready for the next one.
I was gonna ask you. Couldn't find where you were from, but you're from Miami. What was it? Did you grow up in Miami as a kid?
I grew up in Miami, Florida. Yep.
Okay. What was it like growing up in Miami? Were you I guess how were you as a kid? Were you a pretty outgoing kid?
I think sports helped me become outgoing. Growing up in Miami was great. However, I didn't see my first taste of snow until I was 19 years old in college.
You went to Manhattan College in New York, right?
Correct. Yep.
You're going to have to give me a little rundown of what it's like to play baseball in New York with the culture of, the Subway Series. You have the Mets, you have the Yankees, the nostalgia of baseball there. What's it like at the collegiate level?
Yeah, it was a very different experience than what I was anticipating, and especially the culture is very different from Miami baseball culture. Just the way the game is played in general, the way that the baseball minds in that area think is different than how it is in the southeast. But it was cool for me to experience that. And I think it helped me grow as a player. It was more of a hard-nosed type of game, more pride in your work. That Yankees kind of vibe, that rivalry between the Mets and the Yankees is super cool to be a part of. It's almost like a privilege to play baseball in the state of New York.
That's awesome. I feel like every baseball player's dream as a kid is to play in the MLB, right? The next best thing would just to be play professionally, which you did in the independent leagues, playing for the Frontier Leagues, the American Association, the United Shore Professional Baseball League, which you transitioned to a coach eventually, and we'll get to that. But how did the opportunity come to you to play professionally?
Well, my senior year, I went undrafted, which was a surprise at the time, and that was kind of a setback momentarily. And I had to adjust and try and figure out, what was the next thing? Do I use my degree? I thought I was supposed to play baseball. There was a little bit of a faith journey involved there, where I took a leap and was all right, how can I figure out how to still play? And that's where I did my own research at the time, and I learned about independent baseball, which is a backdoor into the major leagues, which at the time when I was coming up through college, nobody really heard about it. I think now because of social media, there's a lot more awareness around it. And also because so many rounds have gotten cut off in Major League Baseball, there's a lot of transactions happening now between Major Leagues and independent. So that has grown a lot. But that was how I found it. I came across it. I sent out emails. I went to every tryout. I did everything I could, and finally a door opened and I was able to break through.
What team did you first start playing for? When I was right out of college, I interviewed with the Lexington Legends at the time, they're in the Frontier League. I don't know if you're familiar with them at all.
Yeah, the Lexington Legends, yeah, I'm aware of them. I think they're in the Atlantic League now, but my first team was the Frontier Grays out of the Frontier League, actually. There's 3 or 4 different leagues within independent right now, and I think the ranking would be the Atlantic League is the top level. Then you got the American, the Frontier, and the Pioneer. And then the United Shore is that 5th league all the way at the bottom.
I feel like people probably think because it's not the MLB, because you're not in the minor leagues, that there's probably not as much competition there. But I guess talk on that note of kind of how competitive this league might be.
Yeah, well, I think a good example for me to set the table is right now, Major League Baseball cut their rounds from 40 to 20. So every year you have 20 rounds worth of players that would normally be drafted and considered MLB quality players, now jobless and out in the open sea looking for jobs. So all those quality players that just don't fit into Major Leagues, organizations right now are all looking for places to play. So the actual talent level is still just as good as minor leagues. It's all independent because there's no father or umbrella that the independent teams lead back up to. So I would consider it minor leagues. It's just organized by each
Okay.
individual organization versus the affiliated baseball is individual. All the organizations are organized by the father or the parent team. Um, in today's world, I think independent baseball is just as valuable as minor league baseball, and you see that because there's hundreds of transactions every year. It's just there's not enough spots, from my experience. There's not enough spots, and there's too many good players, and that's just the reality of it.
I was actually just talking to somebody else. He plays within like the minor league organization, and I asked, like, one thing that you would do to um, kind of help grow the game of baseball as far as like modernize it or whatever. And he was like, I want to see more teams. Like, there's so much talent that like goes unnoticed that like I would love to see have an opportunity, within a professional baseball organization. And so yeah, it would be cool to see, a couple more teams expand and give these other guys a shot who, maybe went undrafted or unsigned and stuff like that. Um, but like I mentioned above, you transitioned from a player within the USPBL to a coach. I guess at what point did that transition happen? And did you find it hard to kind of let go of your playing career?
Yeah. Well, that first year heading into the USPBL, I already had the idea that this might be my last because I was coming in to be, I think I was the oldest guy in the league. They just started the league and they wanted to kind of set a foundation for what they were doing. And I was able to be that veteran type of experience in the clubhouse and also prepare me for coaching if it didn't work out and if I didn't get picked up or signed out of there. But I had a good season and I had a lot of conversations with scouts and I just quite frankly asked them honestly, what are my chances? Like, what do I need to do? What's going on? Like, how can I make it? And they told me straight up, like, at this point in the game, it's just the age is the thing. I was 26 years old. I hit 300, 340 in that league at the time. But for that level at that age, it didn't make sense for Major League Baseball. And that's where I was like, all right, well, thanks for the honesty. I got to take that back to the house and think about it. And then what happened was I
Right.
really took a leap of faith and became a coach just out of the opportunity that, wow, I get a shot to be a pro coach right away. That in itself was a blessing. And I was like, all right, I may not have made it as a player, but the playing career got me to this level to be a coach now. That's pretty unique in itself. Let me try it out for a year. And if anything, I could always go back and play again the year after because, there's always that story of the underdog that makes it. So I said, I'll give myself one shot, 1 year to see if I enjoy it and if I'm good at it or whatever. And what happened was I had the most fun in my life that year. And I didn't realize that I love coaching more than I ever did playing the game. And I would have never known that had I not had to make that or face that giant.
I feel like a lot of guys struggle like letting go of that dream of like playing in the league, and so for you to let go of it, find this, gift in coaching, enjoying it, it's awesome. Um Now, have you always kind of been like a natural leader, or was that something that you found within coaching like, "Oh my god, like I'm actually really good at this?"
I think the leadership piece was a part of my game as a catcher growing up. And I was always
Right.
like a part that I needed to have to be a good catcher. And I played the position well and I led the team well. So I think that once I got the opportunity to be a full coach, that just opened the doors for me to be a full leader as I saw fit versus like within whatever, lanes that I was given. So really it was like one thing too, I don't think that we should play the game to play Major League Baseball. I think you should play the game just to play the game, whether it's on a T-ball field
Right.
with terrible grass or the lights of Yankee Stadium. If you're playing it for what you get out of it, you're not playing it for the right reasons. And that's actually something I learned from Willie Mays in the Giants organization. Was what he told me was he never played the game for what he can get out of it. He played the game for what he can give it. And that's something that I think I
Mm.
struggled with as a player, and I didn't understand that. But once I transitioned to a coach, I realized that, and I said to myself, I can be that coach that I never had to make the players realize that, so that they have a shot still within their career to make it. Because if you're playing your career for what you get, you're going to come up short, or there's always going to be something else you're chasing. But if you're playing it for what you can give, you're going to be full of joy every day.
Yeah, I feel like there's kind of like a pride behind letting go of, okay, like, why am I playing this game? Like, am I playing it because I love it, or am I playing it because I'm trying to like gain this status within the sport? So for you to be able to like lead guys and like change their mentality on how they're playing, I think is super cool. And as you mentioned, you coached within the Giants organization. So like after the 2018 season, you got a job with the Sacramento River Cats, so the Giants AAA team, which is quite a jump, starting within the minors at the AAA level as a coach. Was that kind of a surreal moment, landing that job and being so close to coaching at the MLB level?
Absolutely. That was the moment that validated everything leading up into that moment. All the trials, all the pain, all the suffering, all the dreams, being shattered and all that stuff all made sense when I got that call. And I jumped straight from the USPBL to AAA baseball in a player development role with minor leaguers, but mainly big leaguers because that's what AAA is.
Right.
So during that year, we had 80 transactions between both levels. So I had half of the big league squad on the squad at some point, and it was my job to help them get better to go back up. So that was the best. Well, let me backtrack. During the 2016 to 18 years in the United Shore League, I think we sold like 35 contracts to Major League Baseball. That's kind of what put me on the map as a player developer. But I still had a lot of unanswered questions, but I just had like the will to be the coach. So I think that's what like was my leading quality, was leadership and just a love for the players, and we just figured out how to get better. But when I got to the Giants organization at that level, it was a field day for me because I wanted to grow as an individual. So all I did every single day was absorb everything I could. And it happened to be the best year in the whole organization's history because we won the national championship. We led the majors in transactions, and it was the first time that the team had ever three-peat. It's the first three-peat in minor league history was that year. So it was just an incredible year all around, and it was my first year as a coach. So it was just like I got to level up and then just absorb all the experience from everybody in passing. And the names is just a long list of names of people I got to communicate with.
When you were coaching with the River Cats, was there ever a player that kind of like maybe came down from San Francisco that you coached like alongside or coached for, that you were kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm like helping lead this guy right now?
Yeah, I have a story for you then. His name's
Heck
Stephen
yeah.
Vogt.
Love stories.
Stephen Vogt came
Oh
down
my
to AAA.
God!
Yeah, Stephen Vogt was in
Big
AAA Sacramento rehabbing his shoulder so he can make it to the big leagues. And he literally was like, my shoulder's so bad, I'm going to one-hop my throwdowns. As long as it's serviceable, I need to do whatever it takes to make it. And me and him would get to the early work every single day to make it happen. And one day, this is crazy, but this is a true story, and I hope that he sees this one day and he can validate it. One day in left field, he said, hey, Ray, do you mind just praying for my shoulder? I just feel like you need to do this for me. And I don't know why, can you do it? Yeah, so I was like, yeah, man, I'm about to pray over Stephen Vogt's shoulder. I was like, God, take all his pain away. Give it to me, whatever it is. Make this guy get to the big leagues, right? And he ends up getting a 2-year, $4 million contract with the Diamondbacks that next year. And I never saw or heard from him again. Yeah. So I just pray for him and his family and all that. And now he's obviously doing great things. And that was one of the, he took me under his wing while we were working together because I was a coach, but he's older than me and well more experienced. So, it was a weird experience for me coming from where I came from, trying to handle all the relationships with people that had way more credibility than I did at the time. After that year, I think I was able to catch up in credibility in the baseball world, but I had a learning curve and just being humble and yes, sir, and taking it and taking the clubhouse talk and all those things. But that's a part of growing and seeing what the level's like.
So I actually cover the Guardians, and obviously this was his first season as a major league head coach. Had so much success, and I think he's great. I obviously don't know him on a personal level, but I love that story. When we get back in the swing of things, I'm definitely gonna have to bring this up to him and be like, hey, I heard a story about you.
Yeah,
I will. I absolutely
talk
will.
to him, tell him to say hello.
I will, for sure. So I guess at what point did you leave SAC and then go coach in Maryland with the Blue Crabs?
Yeah, our mutual friend COVID knocked me out of the ring there. So after the 2020 season, 2020 was COVID. We all left and we went to the alternate site. And then at the end of that year is when I found out that they were cutting 30% of the staff, the teams. 2 teams got contracted. That was across all of Major League Baseball, obviously. So timing wise, pretty bad for me. My second year, all the Major League Baseball cuts a third of their staff. So on the totem pole was already there, So I understood why I wasn't invited to stay with the group that stayed. But it gave me the credibility and the experience to get me to my next job, which was in the Atlantic League, which is the highest level of independent baseball. I was able to land the job as a bench coach and a hitting coach with the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs.
And that's where you were first introduced to the Savannah Bananas, correct?
Yeah, so our third year, so I spent 3 years with Blue Crabs. In those 3 years, I was able to implement all the things I learned in AAA and the big leagues. We broke every franchise record that we had, and we set a league record for win percentage. All right. The last year I was there, we played as a challenger in a series in Savannah against some team called the Savannah Bananas, and all of our players were like cringing about doing this whole trip down there. But I was the bench coach, so I was the point man, and that's how we originally got introduced. Was I was a lead in the communicating between both teams, getting everybody down there, trying to get the guys, riled up for this, because the timing was weird. Like, we played in the middle of our season, this random game on an off day in Savannah. And at the time, the players were like, why are we doing this? We're not getting paid for it. We're not playing baseball. It doesn't help us win a championship, right? Hindsight, like, it was a really good thing for me because it connected me with the Savannah Bananas.
Right. When you first, see the way that this game is played, the different dances, their style of ball, what were your thoughts first off?
My original thoughts were Harlem Globetrotters and kind of a
Right.
satirical take on baseball. At first, I wasn't too sure about their motivation or their intentions behind it.
Okay. And for those people who may not know exactly, I feel like everybody knows what the Savannah Bananas are at this point, but people don't maybe understand how the game is played. Give us a rundown of the team, how the games operate, the flow with the performance and stunts and stuff like that. I know there's different rules, you don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but the elevator pitch of the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah. So the Savannah Bananas are merging entertainment and baseball. And what they've done is created a faster version of a baseball game, more exciting version of a baseball game, to condense the amount of time so there's more time to give entertainment. So what the Bananas have done is create a world, an experience for the fans from the time you get out to the time you get back into your car, from A to Z, a whole new experience at a ballpark surrounded around a game of baseball. But to make the game faster, they changed the rules to banana ball to eliminate all the down slow parts of the game and then fill that gap with entertainment instead. So now all you're getting is action or entertainment versus a traditional baseball game is mainly lull majority of the time, and then there's little action here and there, right? And then for a traditional baseball purist, like a 0-0 ball game, but both starters going to the ninth is really exciting. But in today's generation, I'm not sure if that hits as well. And I think that's what the Bananas have capitalized on, is the Bananas are really good at meeting people where they are, and they have really understood what fans want to see and want to experience coming to a baseball field. And baseball, for some reason, has been the slowest of all the big sports to do anything to give back to their fans.
Right. I guess I want to talk a little bit about the transition from coaching. Not that the Savannah Bananas aren't competitive, but it's like you said, just a different style of play. It's merging the entertainment and the competition. What went into that decision to take the leap of faith to kind of change the course of how you're coaching, who you're coaching for? Because I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision to just step away from this side to go to that side of the game, if that makes sense.
For sure. And every single person in my corner that I asked for advice, being a traditional purist, told me not to do it. So I had to really take a scope around and to make a decision for myself. But what led to it was the story, my life story leading up to the decision. And during those 3 years after the Giants let me go, I interviewed for every single job that was posted in affiliated baseball. And I had a really good resume on every single job. And I had 25 interviews go to the final round, and 0 for 25 leading up into the end of 2023. So I was just like, God, what is going on here? I know I'm good at what I do. I believe in myself. I love people. I love my players. But why are things just not moving? Or at least not, maybe it's patience, but just 0 for 25 is a hard one. Over 3 years, it's a lot of no's. And I try to move on, but it's still, there's still some scars in there. You don't like to be told that you're not wanted, right? Especially knowing and believing in yourself the way that you're supposed to. So when the Bananas job came through, I took it as a light at the end of the dark tunnel. This is why you had to go through all those no's. Here's the chance to start something completely new. And if it doesn't work out, you can always go back the year after. So kind of the same mindset going into coaching, I took it again. I rolled the dice again. And obviously the opportunity, I already knew they were going to play in major league stadiums. And I was just well, the offer itself is an amazing opportunity. Why would I miss that for what traditional baseball purists might think of me because I'm doing it, when I know that by doing it, I'm going to be able to have a platform and impact unlimited amount of people. So I
Right.
was like, I'm doing it
What
for the platform, not even for the baseball. Like, if the baseball works, it works. I'm doing it for the fact that I can change people's lives with a message that I can spread while I'm on that tour.
What do you think, like, the biggest lesson that you learned from all those no's to then getting this position with the Savannah Bananas?
Yeah. Perseverance is a key to greatness. So if you want to accomplish anything great in life, you're going to have to execute perseverance, which means there's going to be a circumstance at some point. It's going to be enduring, and you're going to have to figure out, do I quit or do I persevere? So whatever we want to accomplish that's great at that level, you can do a lot of okay things and semi-decent things, and it doesn't take a lot of perseverance, and you can live life like that. But to really achieve that next level, you're going to have to go through a bunch of no's. And the thing is, our human nature tells us that resistance is a sign that we're going the wrong way, and it's not.
Mm.
It's a sign that the victory is on the other side of the challenge, and that's where we have to have like good discernment and a good head on our shoulders to like not chase the win and chase what's real.
Do they have you doing their pregame hype speeches too? Because I feel like you're set to be a motivational speaker one day.
I appreciate that. No, we have Reggie, the legend Horton, and he's the hype coach, and he owns that.
That's
But I do
awesome.
like to, yeah, I appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you are the hitting development coach, right? And then you kind of work with the catchers a little bit.
Yes, with the Bananas hitting, catching, outfield as well.
Okay.
But everything there is kind of almost by community because of the way it's kind of working. We're pioneering a level that has never been done before. So like there is no real blueprint. Everybody, all the minds on deck are all building this together. So like if people have advice that's valuable, it doesn't matter where it comes from. It's like
Right.
all hands on deck. What's the next thing that needs to get done?
Well, because of like the style of the game and the entertainment aspect, I feel like a lot of people are focusing on that. But I'm sure there is like traditional practices where you guys are practicing baseball. I mean, like, are you still doing the fundamentals, the hitting drills, etc.? Like, what does a typical practice look like for the Savannah Bananas?
Yeah, it's half regular baseball, and then flip the switch, and it's half crazy town. And the thing about
Right.
practice that a lot of people don't get to see, obviously, but I do get to see, is that when we switch to like that trick level, it's really bad. It's really sloppy. There's a lot of mistakes
Hmm.
because we're trying to do these things that are never been done before. So like we have to understand that most of the time during that part of it is going to be failure and failure and failure. And we're having fun doing it because we're getting one step closer, because once you do hit it and then you master
It's
hitting
like,
it, now you can do a backflip bare hand catch in center field in front of 15,000 people, and that's incredible. But we actually have to work on that, but it starts with the fundamental of baseball first.
now during these games, sorry if I cut you off.
There you go.
During these games, are you a part of any like of the performances or stunts? I guess you'd call them.
Me personally, there's a few like key moments that the team, all staff is a part of. There's no like extra things that I think if I tried to plug myself in, maybe, but there's just so much going on, so many people. I'm trying to figure everything out. Like I don't even know what's happening still. So
Right. That's hilarious. Well, there's something special about like your uniform that you wear as a coach. You've got a little cape that you wear around your neck every game. What's the story behind that?
yeah, so the story behind that is my understanding of what Banana Ball was coming into it was like this merge realm of WWE plus baseball. But it's not the Harlem Globetrotters because we're trying to keep the competition alive, and you don't know who's going to win the game ultimately because that part isn't scripted. Um, but
Right.
we want these characters to come to life because the characters is really what's going to the fan base will hold on to, and also the characters is the privilege that you get to give the message back to the fan base. So the character is somebody that people can grow their liking upon or like dial in their personal whatever it is. But the point is, I want it to be a character because if we're trying to get our players to be characters, how can we get them to do those things and to venture off into that creative freedom realm if we as a coach aren't doing either? And me being a new guy from the traditional baseball circuit, I'm like, I'm all in. That's why I'm here. And I need my players to know that, yeah, I have the experience to get you better on the baseball field, but I'm all in for what we're doing too. So I'm going to show you and I'm going to lead from the front. And that's why I put it on. The actual character itself was just, I wanted to be something that was like mysterious, intriguing, but not like overwhelmingly like look at me, look at me. So my first thought was like Lord of the Rings, Aragorn, have like a cloak cape type of thing, and then that kind of just evolved into kind of a Batman type thing. But most of the players call me sensei around the clubhouse, and that was on them. So I don't know where that came from, but that's kind of all into that character.
That's so funny. Obviously, like Banana Ball has grown so much over the past couple years, and I feel like you've probably been a part of that growth for sure. And you guys went on the tour this summer. You're selling out MLB stadiums. I can't even imagine like what that atmosphere is like. I mean, you just, I guess, talk on that sense.
So yes, it's an incredible atmosphere, and it's a one of one. What Jesse has figured out how to do is create a championship World Series Game 7 environment every single game.
Right.
So no game is just a regular season game on a Tuesday night. Every single game is the greatest show in sports. It's the greatest game around. It's the best thing you can do today. It's the biggest show or party you can go to right now, and it takes a lot of work and effort to put that together every single day.
Cleveland specifically was a movie, your words, not mine. How was Cleveland compared to like I guess all the stops on the tour? Did you have a favorite spot? Can you say that? Like where you had the most fun, I guess?
Yeah, well, I will say my favorite spot was Fenway because
Oh,
at the time that happened, it was being called the meeting of the times because you had the most progressive sport in history playing on one of the most historic, probably the most historic stadium on the planet.
right.
So that in itself was cool. And then I was able to get the home run derby locked into the pregame show, which was a hard thing to accomplish, but we were able to get it in there. And then we were able to win the home run derby. So for me as a coach, my favorite coaching moment of all time was throwing that last pitch when my player, Eric Jones, hit the ball out of the freaking stadium into who knows the turnpike to win the home run derby in front of a sold out crowd in this meeting of the times moment, so it was cool. And the biggest moment, like that was so loud and it was a regular baseball moment. It wasn't like an entertainment thing, which for me as a
Right.
baseball purist was super cool. But with that being said, Cleveland was super unique for me because my favorite stadium prior to that tour that I've always claimed as my favorite was Cleveland Stadium because I went there
Really?
when I was 18. I played in a tournament with Team Florida in Ohio, and we went to see the Red Sox play against the Indians at the time on like a Tuesday or
Yeah.
Wednesday night, and it was near sold out, and there were grandmas' faces painted, and I was like, what is up with Cleveland? Like these sports fans are legit. And we were up in the nosebleeds and people were having a blast, and it was a 1-0 ball game, and I had a great time.
Yeah, I will say, as like a Cleveland fan, I think at least Guardians and Cavs. I'm not going to claim the Browns. Sorry. Our fan base, they're amazing. They come out, they represent, they show up. So I'm glad they did for you guys. I'm just glad that they put on, a good experience for you guys too. And you guys, I think you guys, but prior to that, were in Columbus at the AAA Stadium, and then maybe the year before in Akron. So you guys kind of hit them all.
Yep.
Along the way, you guys bring out old players or current players and celebrities at some points throughout like your stops on this tour. Was there anyone that you guys brought out that you fanboyed over a little bit?
I think every single major leaguer. The first big league stadium was, well, the very first weekend we brought out John Cena, and that was crazy. That was
Oh my
probably
gosh, yeah.
that was the highlight of the year as far as like guest appearances from the get go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but when we got to Houston, it was really cool because we had Roger Clemens, Roy Oswalt, Josh Reddick. I'm missing somebody I shouldn't be missing. Anyways, the cool part about like being a coach is, and during these shows, is we're trying to conceal these people because if they get seen, it could ruin the moment or whatever. So a lot
Right.
of like their warming up happens underground where the players are super busy. So for me, I get to be behind the scenes warming up these guys, talking to them, asking stories and just, having fun with them. And that was cool. So I got to fanboy the whole year, to be frank.
Well, speaking of fanboy a little bit, when you're in Savannah, Georgia, out on a regular day, maybe going to grab some lunch or something like that, do you have people recognize you? I feel like you've got to be like a little bit of a local celebrity there. Probably anybody on the team.
I'm not myself. I would say the players. Yeah, I don't think people know
The
who I am.
players.
Yeah. Every once in a while at the airport, I'll get a random person come up to me and recognize me. But also, I have like
Oh, that's
a
cool.
bit, I have a different look when I'm in my costume than when I'm out of it, which I think helps me
Right.
kind of stay incognito, which is, I see how much attention some of the boys get. Jackson Olsen, like, it's a lot. It's a responsibility almost.
Right. I think Jackson, when I was in college, I remember him like just kind of coming up on TikTok and then was like traveling, doing stuff with like MLB teams, just like content and stuff like that, and then signed with the Bananas. And it's also honestly cool to see how he's continued to grow his platform and keep it, because I feel like it's hard to keep an audience, but he's done a really good job of that and kind of being a big face of the Savannah Bananas, which I actually Kyle Jackson, he's on this, he just got signed I think with the
Yep.
Bananas. Yeah, so he went to Kent, which I went to Kent and worked with the athletic department. So it's cool to see like a local
Very
guy
cool.
that I knew. Yeah, get and he's perfect. Oh my god, he's so perfect for it. He was like the face of Kent State baseball. So there's honestly not a better spot for him to be than with you guys. But something that I've always been curious about personally is like the faith aspect around the team. A lot of the players and staff are very like into their faith as Christians and make it a part of like the content that they post on their personal pages. Is faith something that was there before you got there, or was that something that was like created within the team just because of some of these guys' relationships with God, and it just like kind of spread among the team?
Um, I'm not sure like what the dynamics look like prior to my arrival. I will say once I
Right.
arrived, a lot of the players have faith. I have faith. But there's some leaders in the clubhouse that stood up, and it was very pleasing to see. As an older guy, and then like looking back on myself, how I was at their age, and all, and then the fame that they're looking at every day. So to see some leaders in the clubhouse kind of stand up and humility, and then like bring guys together and lead that, and then I get to join in on that and just kind of be a buffer to that, and lead by example with those things, and be a part of it is incredible. And I think it ties into like the whole atmosphere that we're creating is just like this sharing of love and lack of selfishness. A lot of unselfish behavior. It's about fans first, right? We say that every single game. Um, so putting others before ourselves is just like kind of built into the culture, and I think that resonates well with people of faith.
Speaking of like the culture, I guess, when you guys are looking to add players to a team, obviously you guys have the firefighters now, the party animals. You're creating these like more teams for the Savannah Bananas basically to like go up against in these competitions and on tour and stuff like that. What are you guys looking for in a player to bring aboard the teams?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a lot of players have been asking that. And the two defining qualities that have been established are need to be good at baseball and need to be entertaining. So we're not looking just for the best baseball players. We're looking for the best and most entertaining baseball players, and that
Yeah.
can look a lot of different ways. And that's the whole realm that we're in of creative freedom. Like, what does entertaining mean? Well, each individual player can define that, and that's what we're starting to see with some of the characters and players in the league. Like, they have their own unique trick plays or their own celebrations or their own signature dances or whatever it is that is now starting to like become a big brand part of them and the culture.
I read that one of your goals was to coach at the major league level. Is that something that you still have on your mind, something that you'd like to accomplish, or have you kind of found like a new purpose within like the Savannah Bananas?
Yeah, I love Banana Land. So I guess like the only thing that everybody, especially on the outside, is asking is how long is it going to last, right? Well, on the inside, it's going to last forever because that's what is being built towards. I think
Right.
that I'm looking at to take each year one at a time, and whichever direction that goes. If there's an opportunity to go back to Major League Baseball, I love the spirit of war and the art of war and all of that, which it's sometimes in Banana Land, like, because that's not what the show is about. The show is about the fan experience
Right.
and like seeing things that are incredible, and just a showcasing of talent out there. And then, yeah, you do want to win. The players don't like losing, but we interrupt the game. Like, there's a lot of things, that raise the integrity to question. So again, Banana Ball is not about winning the game. It's about having the most fun and being entertained every single night. And then obviously there has to be a winner or loser because we are playing the game. So that part of it, I do see myself maybe in the future like missing. But I don't know. I
Mm,
believe that bananas are going to impact. I think Major League Baseball talked about something about the golden batter. I saw. I don't know if they really accept that, but
yeah.
I feel that the bananas, as long if they can keep surviving year after year, baseball is going to be more open minded to taking and adopting things that they're doing. However, it may not look exactly the same, but perhaps their version of what they're doing to make it more entertaining for their fans. And then that's ultimately what bananas have to figure out. Like, can we hold a fan base if Major League Baseball starts to do that?
Now, are you pretty close with your players? What would you describe your guys' relationships? Like more like a father son, a brother, a friend? What would you say?
Uh, I don't know, like a brother, uncle, man, teacher, friend.
Okay.
They all, a
A
lot of
little
them call me
unk.
sensei, which means teacher, and I respect that
Right.
they came up with that. But like, I don't talk down to them. I talk straight at them, and I love them. And we're all grown men, and they're living the dream right now. I just want to see them live it as long as they can.
Well, we're gonna play a little game that involves your players. So I'm gonna give you
Oh,
a superlative, and you're gonna award it to one of your guys. So
okay.
let's start off with who's most humble.
Oof. Most humble. Mm.
Yeah, these guys get a lot of attention. Who's most humble?
On the bananas specifically, or in the whole banana
You
land?
honestly you can do Banana Land. Let's do that. It might make it easier for you.
Honestly, I think Dalton Malden's pretty humble because he has an angel. He has the voice of an angel, and I listen to his
Oh,
music when he's not around, and when he sings in the
yeah.
clubhouse, I stop and I listen. And when you talk to him, he's just like a normal guy.
Yeah. Okay, who's actually like the most athletic that you're like, "Oh my God, like
Oof.
yeah, you can do the fun stuff, but like baseball wise, like I'm just in awe."
Yeah, that's a very tough one. Dr. Meadows is up there for me because he can do backflips. I think Rack, Coach Rack, is very athletic because he can do the backflips.
Hmm.
He can also hit the ball 400 feet. He can run. He can do some things. Malachi Mitchell, the fastest man alive, he's literally, I think he just set a record unofficially, a few weeks ago or something. Like that guy can do backflips. And honestly, the most athletic person that I think is I would like to just plug in here is the double zeros, Coach Maceo. That
Hmm.
guy is one of the most athletic people in the whole organization, and I get to see him, use that talent every day, and it's awesome and fun.
I feel like a lot of the guys are in relationships, so like bless their hearts, but who's the biggest flirt?
I don't know. I try not to like
I guess you
even.
probably wouldn't see that.
No, yeah. I mean, you hear stuff because we're around each other all the time, but you try not to, as a coach,
Right.
mess with that. I guess I could plug in your boy KJ. I think a lot of people like him.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, who has the best hair?
The best hair. If I feel like the right answer is Jackson Olsen. Um,
He's got the flip, the flow.
yeah. I'll say probably Olsen. I know he does his hair a little bit,
Okay.
so.
Best bromance on the team.
Best bromance. Um, Interesting. I think Bill Leroy. Bill's awesome. I mean, I have to plug in Bill somewhere here. He's like the most entertaining, I think, player in the whole organization. There you go. Most entertaining player, Bill Leroy,
Most
and he's got a
entertaining.
yeah, Bill Leroy, and he's got a bromance with everybody because he is the most entertaining. He's also like the original. I think he was the first walkout ever, the first character. He's a catcher too, so I love that being a catcher myself. Being a leader out there, dancing, doing splits, and then the whole pregame show too. He's on the mic for an hour and a half before the game even starts every day.
Which can be exhausting. Jeez, ow.
Yeah,
Um, who's the most gullible? Somebody that you guys can definitely pull one over on.
uh, most gullible. I feel like Stilts. Stilts is pretty gullible, but he's so nice and he's so like he's too nice. That's what it is. Plus he's on the stilts all
Yeah.
day, so he can't hear all like the conversations that's happening down below him.
Okay, we'll finish up with a couple more. Who's most likely to become president?
Most likely to become president. I think Michael Vitamin D. I got to vote. He'd have my vote.
Okay, and then who's most likely to brighten up your day, put a smile on your face if you're having a bad day?
I gotta say Bill Leroy. I mean, that's what he literally does for me every day. But I think Brandon Crosby's up there too. Showtime. He's very, very entertaining personality around as well.
Well, we'll wrap up with this just by asking, I guess, what's your favorite part of being involved with this team? I'm so sure there's so many different things that you can think of, but like, how do you sum it up?
Yeah, the way to sum it up, honestly, is just having the platform to do good with is the best part. And that's my whole life. The reason why I wanted to be a baseball player was to make it and then like be a good role model and give back to people, right? And then I didn't get a chance to do that as a player, so I became a coach. And then my track was okay, I can do that if I make it to the big leagues as a coach. And I got so close to AAA, and that didn't happen. And then I got to the Bananas,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got the platform with the Bananas. It's like, all right, now that I have it, I don't want to do bad with it. So the biggest joy for me is seeing the fan and the way that they react, and then the one-on-one conversations, like being just present-minded with a fan every single day is super cool, and that isn't in traditional baseball mindset normally.
Yeah, relationships for sure, and I definitely on your Instagram you can tell that those relationships and the platform that you have mean a lot to you, and you definitely want to do good with it. So, as a baseball fan, I appreciate that a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, it was so nice to have you on here and just talk to you. We hope you come back to Cleveland, have another stop on your tour here, and maybe we can do something like in person next time. That would be cool.
For sure. That sounds good to me.
Okay, well, have a great rest of your day. Happy New Year. Sending all the good vibes your way in Miami.
Thank you. Happy New Year.